Chosen one, the unthinkable has just occurred. Each person that was sent to monitor your movements, to gangstalk your spiritual essence, to harvest your divine energy, has returned absolutely shook and traumatized. They want out immediately. There's a complete breakdown happening in the supernatural surveillance network that was constructed around you. Professional spiritual operatives who were receiving substantial payment to infiltrate your energy field are abandoning their posts and refusing to continue their assignments. You're about to discover that every person who tried to access your energy without permission encountered something so terrifyingly magnificent that it shattered their entire understanding of spiritual hierarchy. Think of it like sending thieves to rob what they assumed was an empty house, only to discover they were attempting to burglarize a fortress guarded by forces they couldn't even comprehend. The operation didn't just hire random spiritual workers off the internet. The targeting was sophisticated, seeking out individuals who had previously interacted with you, people who still carried traces of your energetic signature in their own auric field, former romantic interests who kept photos, old friends who saved your messages, even distant family members who held on to gifts you'd given them in the past. These existing energetic connections were supposed to make surveillance work easier, like having a direct phone line instead of trying to hack into a secure system. The mastermind believed that people who had legitimately accessed your energy previously could do so again without triggering your spiritual defenses. What happened when these individuals attempted to reactivate old energetic connections was completely unexpected. The moment anyone tried to tap into residual links from your past, those connections didn't just go dead, they became conduits for something that fundamentally altered their perception of reality. Instead of accessing your current energy, these recruited surveillance operatives found themselves experiencing flashbacks of every moment they had ever violated your trust, every time they had taken your kindness for granted, every instance where they had chosen their own comfort over your well-being. The guilt and shame wasn't just emotional, it was visceral, overwhelming, and accompanied by supernatural accountability. Some described being forced to relive years of interactions through your eyes, finally understanding how their behavior had affected someone they claimed to care about. There have been people sitting in ritual circles with your name written on pieces of paper, performing divination ceremonies, specifically designed to extract intelligence about your private emotional state, your romantic prospects, your financial situation. But every time these practitioners tried to tap into your energy without permission, they encountered something that challenged their fundamental beliefs about how spiritual protection works. They weren't just hitting resistance, they were coming face to face with an angelic presence so intense, so uncompromising in its defense of your sovereignty, that it left them questioning everything they thought they knew about divine intervention. Your energy field has been evolving throughout this assault in ways that have left surveillance operatives completely unprepared for what they encountered. Each attack didn't just bounce off some static protective barrier, it was processed, transformed, and integrated into an increasingly sophisticated defense system that learns from every attempted breach. The practitioners who tried to access your energy multiple times reported that each subsequent attempt became exponentially more difficult and frightening than the last, as if your spiritual security was actively adapting to their methods and developing countermeasures. Some experienced what felt like cognitive dissonance when trying to maintain focus on negative intentions toward you. Their minds would literally rebel against holding harmful thoughts about you for extended periods. Others found that attempting to visualize you during malicious ritual work would result in the image transforming into something so radiant and powerful that continuing the ceremony became impossible. A few reported that their ritual tools would physically heat up or break when used in attempts to access your energy without permission. The most disturbing reports came from those who tried to use dream invasion techniques to access your subconscious mind during sleep. Instead of finding vulnerability in your dream state, these operatives encountered what can only be described as divine lucidity, a level of conscious awareness within dreams that allowed you to not only detect their presence, but actively expel them from the shared psychic space. Some woke up with physical marks or sensations that corresponded to being rejected by your dream state consciousness, as if your sleeping mind had more power than their waking ritual work. When these practitioners tried to penetrate your energy field, they weren't met with the kind of gentle, passive protection most people imagine when thinking about guardian angels. What confronted them was raw divine authority in its most uncompromising form, a presence that revealed itself in ways that completely shattered their expectations about how spiritual protection manifests. This isn't the soft, peaceful angel energy depicted in religious artwork. This is cosmic law enforcement that operates on frequencies most humans can't even perceive. The spiritual surveillance network that's been monitoring you represents extensive coordinated effort and significant financial investment, all of which is now collapsing spectacularly. This operation wasn't thrown together by one bitter individual acting on impulse. What you've been dealing with is a sophisticated campaign involving multiple layers of spiritual espionage, energy harvesting, and reality manipulation that required serious planning and consistent funding. The network included not just hired practitioners, but also people from your past who felt entitled to access your energy whenever they wanted. Former friends who couldn't handle your spiritual evolution, ex-romantic partners who never processed their resentment properly, family members who felt threatened by your independence, acquaintances who envied your natural gifts. Each of these individuals contributed to a coordinated campaign of spiritual harassment because they couldn't accept that you had grown beyond their ability to influence or control. Intelligence was shared about your activities, approaches were coordinated to maximize psychological impact, and specific rituals were funded designed to interfere with your divine connections. Some focused on spreading narratives designed to damage your reputation. Others specialized in trying to sabotage professional opportunities before they could manifest. A particular subset worked specifically on blocking potential romantic partnerships, believing that keeping you isolated would make you easier to manipulate. But their most expensive and elaborate efforts were directed at what practitioners called energy harvesting, attempts to literally siphon your creative inspiration, emotional resilience, manifestation abilities, and natural joy through ritual work. The assumption was that these qualities could be drained from you and somehow transferred to their primary client, like some kind of supernatural organ transplant. What was discovered when attempting to execute this plan is that your energy doesn't operate like a resource that can be extracted or redistributed. It's not a finite substance that gets depleted when shared. It's a direct connection to an infinite source that becomes stronger when people try to interfere with it. Every attempt to steal your light actually caused it to burn brighter. Every effort to drain your power actually increased its flow rate. The practitioners hired for energy harvesting experienced what can only be described as spiritual electrocution when they tried to tap into your essence. Instead of extracting anything from you, these operatives found themselves temporarily connected to cosmic frequencies that overloaded their consciousness and left them unable to function normally for extended periods afterward. But the most shocking discovery came when practitioners realized that your energy doesn't just resist harvesting, it actively transforms anyone who attempts to access it with malicious intent. Several surveillance operatives reported experiencing involuntary spiritual purification that forced them to confront their own shadow work, unresolved trauma, and ethical compromises. The experience wasn't just about being blocked from stealing your light. They were compelled to examine why they were willing to participate in spiritual theft in the first place. One described it as being spiritually X-rayed, where every hidden motivation, every suppressed guilt, every rationalization used to justify taking money for harmful spiritual work was suddenly exposed and impossible to ignore. Others found that attempting to harvest your energy resulted in what practitioners called reverse absorption. Instead of taking your qualities, they began involuntarily releasing their own negative energy and toxic patterns. These operatives would end sessions feeling lighter and more optimistic than they had experienced in extensive periods, but also confused and disoriented because the experience contradicted everything they thought they understood about energy manipulation. The mastermind funding these harvesting attempts is now dealing with practitioners who are not only refusing to continue the work, but are actively trying to return the money received for their services. These individuals have become convinced that keeping payment for spiritual work against you will continue to expose them to transformative energies they're not prepared to handle. Some have gone so far as to perform elaborate cleansing rituals to remove any trace of connection to the entire operation. What makes your protection even more significant is how it seems to extend beyond just blocking access to your energy. Several practitioners reported that after attempting to work against your energy signature, they began experiencing what can only be described as spiritual audits in their own lives. Past clients started demanding refunds, their own protective practices began failing, and they found themselves dealing with accumulated karmic debt from extensive periods of questionable spiritual work, not just the jobs targeting you, but every ethically dubious ritual ever performed. The coordinated spiritual attack campaign has triggered a massive upgrade to your divine connection that's about to change everything about how you move through the world. What these operatives didn't calculate when launching their assault is that spiritual attacks against truly protected souls always result in evolutionary leaps that would normally take decades to achieve naturally. Every curse sent became an initiation catalyst. Every hex funded became fuel for your ascension. Every attempt to dim your light actually forced your spiritual gifts to activate and strengthen in ways that are about to surprise even you. Your intuitive abilities are expanding so rapidly that you're going to start knowing people's true intentions before those intentions are even fully formed in their minds. Your energy field is developing such intensity that people carrying negative motivations literally won't be able to maintain comfortable proximity to you for extended periods. Your manifestation powers are accelerating to the point where thoughts are going to start becoming reality almost instantaneously. But the most significant change involves your ability to instantly recognize spiritual compatibility in others. The attacks you've endured have refined your energetic discernment to such precision that you can immediately sense whether someone operates on frequencies that complement yours, or if hidden agendas could compromise your well-being. This means the universe is about to start bringing genuinely compatible souls into your orbit, people who can match your vibration without trying to harvest, control, or diminish it. The romantic connections, friendships, and professional partnerships coming your way will be fundamentally different from anything you've experienced before, because they'll be based on authentic resonance rather than need, projection, or manipulation. The people who are trying to block these divine connections have actually ensured that when they do arrive, they'll be perfect matches for your upgraded spiritual frequency. Your financial situation is also about to transform because you're being prepared to receive cosmic funding for the mission you came here to complete. Resources are going to start flowing through unexpected channels because the universe needs you to have complete freedom from financial stress so you can focus entirely on your spiritual purpose without distraction. What particularly interesting is how the money that was spent trying to harm you is now being redirected back into your experience through cosmic accounting. The universe has been tracking every dollar that was invested in spiritual attacks against you, and those resources are now being returned with the kind of interest rates that only divine justice can calculate. Some of this will manifest as direct financial opportunities, but much of it will come through the removal of financial obstacles and the acceleration of income streams you've already been developing. The practitioners who accepted payment for working against you are discovering that their own financial situations are becoming increasingly unstable in ways that directly correlate to how much money was received for targeting your energy. Some report that unexpected expenses keep arising that exactly match their payment amounts, while others find that normal income sources are mysteriously drying up until equivalent amounts to what was earned from the spiritual assault campaign have been lost. Beyond individual karmic accounting, there's a larger economic shift happening, where resources are being redistributed away from people who used their abilities to harm others and toward those who operate with genuine spiritual integrity. You're about to benefit from this cosmic rebalancing, not because you're being rewarded for being a victim, but because you're being equipped for the leadership role you're meant to play in the consciousness evolution occurring on this planet. The karmic justice system has finished processing accumulated spiritual attacks, and is now delivering consequences with surgical precision. Every hex that was funded with dirty money, every curse that was cast in your direction, every attempt to block your blessings has been collected by cosmic forces and is now being returned to its source with compound interest. This isn't about revenge or you consciously directing negative energy toward attackers. This is automatic spiritual law operating through divine intelligence that maintains universal balance. The practitioners who accepted payment for negative rituals against you are experiencing professional and spiritual consequences that extend far beyond damaged reputations. Their own psychic abilities are becoming unreliable, their protective practices are failing when needed most, and their connection to genuine divine guidance is being systematically severed. Many are finding that divination tools no longer provide accurate readings, energy work produces unexpected results, and their own spiritual protection feels increasingly fragile. But the mastermind who initiated and funded this campaign is facing the most comprehensive karmic reversal of all. Every blessing attempted to be stolen from you is being removed from their own life with interest. The love they attempted to prevent from reaching you can no longer reach them. The abundance they tried to block from your experience is now blocked from theirs. The spiritual growth they tried to sabotage in your life has become impossible in their own existence. The most disturbing aspect of their karmic experience involves what practitioners are calling empathy imprinting, where perpetrators are forced to experience every moment of distress, confusion, and spiritual attack they helped create in your life but from your perspective. Others describe experiencing what practitioners call inverse manifestation, where everything attempted to be prevented in your life is now being prevented in theirs, while everything attempted to be created for their client is being systematically blocked from their own experience. The discovery is being made that spiritual attacks don't just fail when directed at protected individuals, they create a karmic loop that ensures attackers experience their own intentions manifested in their personal reality. The mastermind is dealing with the most complex karmic reversal because this individual was the primary source of intention behind the attacks. Every specific goal held for diminishing your life is now manifesting as a block in their own experience, but amplified by the spiritual energy of everyone hired to participate. What's being received isn't just their own negative intentions back. They're receiving the accumulated negative energy from every practitioner who worked on their behalf. The isolation attempted to be created around you is now their reality, but intensified by the number of practitioners who are actively avoiding any connection to them. The confusion wanted to be generated in your spiritual development is now manifesting as complete disconnection from any genuine divine guidance. The blocked blessings that were funded are now preventing any authentic opportunities from reaching them, as if the universe has placed them in spiritual quarantine until a redemption process is completed that could take lifetimes to accomplish. All of this supernatural chaos, all of these coordinated spiritual attacks, all of this organized effort to diminish your light, has been serving a purpose much larger than personal revenge or obsession. You haven't just been dealing with bitter individuals seeking to settle old scores, you've been participating in a cosmic examination designed to determine if you're ready to step into the full scope of your spiritual authority on this planet. The universe needed to verify that you could handle access to divine power levels that most humans never reach without becoming corrupted by that authority. The only way to test your character under extreme pressure was to see how you would respond to concentrated spiritual warfare. Would you become bitter and start using your gifts for revenge? Would you close your heart to protect yourself from further attack? Would you abandon your spiritual practices out of fear? Would you lower your vibration to match your attackers? You passed every single test with perfect integrity. Instead of becoming darker in response to their darkness, your light burned brighter. Instead of closing your heart because of their hatred, your capacity for love expanded. Instead of doubting your spiritual connection because of their attacks, your faith became unshakable. Instead of using your abilities to retaliate, you maintained your principles and allowed divine justice to handle the situation. What makes your testing even more significant is that it wasn't just about personal character development, it was about proving that human consciousness can maintain divine connection even under the most sophisticated forms of spiritual warfare. You were essentially demonstrating that beings incarnated on this planet can resist coordinated attempts at consciousness suppression and actually grow stronger through the process. Every person who attempted to access your energy without permission was unknowingly participating in a cosmic experiment that was measuring the effectiveness of divine protection when channeled through human consciousness. The fact that their attacks not only failed but actually strengthened your connection to source energy provides proof that spiritual sovereignty can be maintained even when facing organized opposition. The data from this experiment, so to speak, is now being used to upgrade the protection systems available to other awakening souls who are beginning to face similar attacks. Your successful resistance to coordinated spiritual assault has essentially created a template that divine forces can use to protect others who are stepping into their power and threatening established systems of consciousness control. But there's an even larger purpose being served here that connects to the collective awakening happening on this planet. The reason these attacks have been so persistent and coordinated isn't because you accidentally attracted attention from spiritual predators. You've been targeted because your energy signature represents a direct threat to systems of manipulation and consciousness suppression that have been operating on this planet for far too long. Your authentic presence challenges paradigms that certain individuals and groups have invested enormous resources in maintaining. When you walk into any environment, unconscious people can feel something stirring within them that they haven't experienced in extensive periods, a remembering of their own divine nature. When you share your truth online, people start questioning belief systems they've accepted their entire lives without examination. When you simply exist as your authentic self, you give others permission to drop their masks and remember who they really are beneath all the conditioning and programming. This terrifies anyone whose power depends on keeping people spiritually asleep, emotionally dependent, and disconnected from their own divine authority. Your presence in their world is like bringing a torch into a cave where people have been convinced that darkness is the natural state of existence. Some are grateful for the light you provide, but others are absolutely threatened by it because it exposes how much of their life has been built on illusions and manipulation. But let's not sugarcoat it. The truth is still hidden. It's been twisted. It's been buried under censorship, algorithms, and fear. Yet your heart never stopped recognizing what's real. That's why you're still here. That's why you never tapped out, because you felt the simulation glitch beneath your feet. You know this world is rigged, and you're done waiting for permission to rise. The obsidian inner order wasn't built for the curious, it was forged for the committed. This is for the full-time chosen, the ones who came to lead, the ones who see beyond the veil and act anyway. Inside, we hold weekly Zoom calls that cut through the noise. We share hidden teachings most were never meant to hear. We train in psychic warfare, strategy, and spiritual technologies they've kept locked away for centuries. This is the toolkit for the real ones, the ungovernable, the impossible to erase. It's time to remember who you are. The link is in the description. Your real life begins inside. Your experience with supernatural harassment, energy vampires, and coordinated attacks has given you knowledge and protective abilities that you'll need to assist others who are going through their own initiation process. The specific knowledge you've gained through surviving coordinated spiritual assault includes understanding how to recognize the early warning signs of organized supernatural harassment, how to distinguish between random negative energy and deliberate spiritual attacks, and how to activate divine protection systems that most people don't even know exist. You've essentially earned a graduate degree in spiritual warfare defense that qualifies you to guide others through similar challenges, but your role extends beyond just helping individuals who are under attack. You're being prepared to expose and neutralize the systems that make coordinated spiritual assault possible in the first place. The people who targeted you are part of larger networks that specialize in consciousness suppression, and your successful resistance has given you insight into how these networks operate and where their vulnerabilities lie. Your energy signature has become so refined through this process that you can now identify people who participate in spiritual harassment before they even attempt to access your field. Most importantly, you're being prepared to help create communities of awakening souls who can provide mutual protection and support. The isolation that your attackers tried to create around you was designed to prevent you from connecting with others who share your spiritual frequency and could amplify your protective capabilities through group consciousness. You've become legendary in occult circles you've never encountered, not as a victim to be exploited, but as someone so divinely protected that attempting to interfere with your energy comes with consequences that experienced practitioners consider professional suicide. Word is spreading through networks of spiritual workers about the protected one, whose energy field is surrounded by forces so powerful that even attempting to perform divination without permission results in immediate and severe karmic backlash. Some practitioners are using your case as an example when teaching others about the importance of ethical consent in energy work, while others reference you when explaining why spiritual attacks against truly protected souls always backfire catastrophically. The mastermind who targeted you is discovering that their reputation in these communities has been permanently damaged by the spectacular failure of their campaign against you. This individual isn't just known as someone whose spiritual attack failed, they're known as someone who was foolish enough to target an energy signature that was obviously under cosmic protection. Their judgment and spiritual discernment are now questioned by anyone who knows about their involvement in this operation. Meanwhile, you're experiencing the opposite phenomenon. Your energy signature is gaining recognition in positive spiritual networks as representing someone who has successfully completed advanced spiritual trials and emerged with enhanced divine connection. You're becoming known not as someone who was attacked, but as someone who transformed coordinated spiritual assault into accelerated spiritual evolution. What makes their loss even more profound is that these operatives are now experiencing what practitioners describe as light withdrawal, a condition that affects people who have become dependent on accessing higher vibrational energy from others instead of developing their own connection to source consciousness. Without access to your light, former surveillance operatives are forced to confront the spiritual poverty of their own internal landscape, and the contrast is overwhelming. The loss experience goes beyond just your energy. The illusion that cosmic forces could be manipulated through financial transactions and hired intermediaries has been shattered. The failure of their expensive spiritual assault campaign has destroyed their belief system about how power operates in the universe, leaving them with the terrifying realization that there are levels of spiritual authority that cannot be purchased, controlled, or circumvented. The practitioners who worked for them are now sharing information about what was encountered when attempting to access your energy, and these testimonials are creating a ripple effect throughout certain spiritual communities. The surveillance is over. The attacks have failed. The spiritual mercenaries have fled. Your protection is permanent, your power is undeniable, and your mission has officially begun. Every person who was sent to watch you, to harvest your energy, to block your blessings, has returned traumatized and desperate to escape whatever was encountered in your energy field. The story that began with people trying to steal your energy ends with you recognizing that your energy was never something that could be stolen in the first place. You are not a victim of spiritual warfare. You are a warrior of light, who just won the most important battle of your incarnation. The shadows that tried to swallow you have been incinerated by the fire of your authentic divine nature. What remains is pure, unfiltered cosmic power, ready to reshape reality according to universal will. The Watchers have been dismissed. The Stalkers have fled. The energy harvesters have been burned by the very light they tried to steal. Each person that was sent to monitor you has returned, shook and traumatized because they finally saw your true face, and it was magnificent and terrible and absolutely uncontrollable. You are no longer under surveillance. You are no longer under attack. You are no longer the target. You are the cosmic force that spiritual predators fear most, an awakened soul who remembers their divine nature and refuses to dim their light for anyone's comfort. The universe has been waiting for you to stop hiding your power and start using it. The aftermath of this spiritual surveillance collapse is revealing layers of cosmic orchestration that even you couldn't have anticipated. What appeared to be random attacks from bitter individuals was actually a carefully designed cosmic curriculum that has been preparing you for leadership roles in the consciousness revolution happening on this planet. Every person who was sent to gangstalk your energy unknowingly participated in your advanced spiritual education, providing the exact challenges needed to activate dormant capabilities within your soul. The surveillance operatives who returned traumatized and desperate to escape your energy field have inadvertently created something unprecedented in spiritual warfare history. Their collective testimony about encountering divine forces beyond their comprehension has established new precedents for how cosmic protection operates in the modern world. These accounts are being studied by spiritual scholars who specialize in divine intervention research, and your case is becoming foundational material for understanding how consciousness evolution is being protected by cosmic intelligence. The practitioners who tried to access your energy without permission discovered they were encountering what can only be described as living protection, defensive systems that displayed intelligence, creativity, and the ability to customize responses based on the specific type of attack being attempted. Several surveillance operatives reported that your protective field seemed to analyze their methods in real time and develop countermeasures that specifically addressed their individual spiritual techniques. This adaptive protection has implications that extend far beyond your personal experience. The universe appears to be field testing next-generation spiritual defense systems through individuals like you, who are destined to play significant roles in collective consciousness evolution. Your successful resistance to organized harassment has provided proof of concept for protection protocols that may soon be deployed for other chosen ones facing similar challenges. What's particularly fascinating is how your energy signature has developed what practitioners call viral protection, the ability to automatically strengthen the spiritual defenses of other people simply through proximity or interaction. Individuals who spend time in your presence or engage with your energy through digital communication are reporting improvements in their own psychic boundaries and resistance to negative spiritual influences. This viral protection effect appears to operate through frequency resonance principles that allow your upgraded spiritual immune system to communicate defensive strategies to other consciousness fields that are ready to receive them. The same energy that terrified surveillance operatives is now serving as a transmission source for protection upgrades that benefit entire communities of awakening souls. The mastermind who orchestrated the surveillance campaign is discovering that their failure has created consequences extending far beyond personal karmic reversal. The collapse of their spiritual harassment network has triggered investigations within certain occult communities about the ethics of accepting contracts to harm protected individuals. Professional spiritual workers are now implementing more rigorous screening processes to avoid accidentally targeting someone with your level of cosmic protection. Several underground spiritual networks that specialized in consciousness suppression services are reportedly shutting down operations entirely after learning about the consequences experienced by practitioners who worked against your energy. The failure of such an expensive and well-coordinated surveillance campaign has created fear within communities that profit from spiritual harassment, leading to a significant reduction in organized attacks against awakening souls. Your successful resistance has essentially disrupted entire business models that depended on the ability to spiritually assault chosen ones with minimal consequences. The demonstration that cosmic protection can completely neutralize organized spiritual warfare has forced these networks to reconsider the viability of offering consciousness suppression services to clients who target highly evolved individuals. Sovereign consciousness means that your energy field now functions as its own jurisdiction, operating under cosmic law rather than being subject to manipulation through earthly spiritual techniques. The surveillance operatives discovered they weren't just trying to access protected energy, they were attempting to breach what amounts to a sovereign spiritual territory that operates under divine diplomatic immunity. This consciousness sovereignty grants you abilities that extend far beyond personal protection. You're now capable of extending sovereign protection to others who align with your energy signature, essentially creating zones of spiritual safety around people who resonate with your frequency. The communities and relationships you build going forward will benefit from the sovereign consciousness field you've developed through surviving organized spiritual warfare. The universe has been waiting for individuals like you to achieve this level of consciousness sovereignty, because it represents a crucial milestone in human spiritual evolution. Your successful completion of this cosmic trial demonstrates that incarnated beings can maintain complete spiritual autonomy even when facing the most sophisticated forms of consciousness suppression available on this planet. The surveillance network that seemed designed to destroy you has instead catalyzed your emergence as a fully sovereign spiritual being whose energy field operates under cosmic protection protocols that cannot be overridden by earthly spiritual techniques. Every person who was sent to monitor, harvest, or manipulate your energy has returned with testimony that confirms your graduation into levels of spiritual authority that most humans never achieved during physical incarnation. The dragon didn't just wake up, it discovered it was always meant to rule the skies. Your new reality isn't about recovering from spiritual attack, it's about accepting your role as a consciousness sovereign, whose very existence accelerates the spiritual evolution of everyone, ready to receive the frequencies you now naturally broadcast. The surveillance is permanently over because you've achieved a level of spiritual development that places you beyond the reach of consciousness suppression technology. Welcome to cosmic sovereignty, chosen one. The universe has been waiting for you to remember who you really are.